Hey, my honeys, how are y'all? Hope everybody's doing okay. Just been hanging out, trying to get ready for the big move over here. Should happen in the next couple of weeks. So Noah and I are super excited. I hope you guys are doing well, getting some sunshine every day. So, wanting this crazy thing to finish, right? So that we can get back to some normal life. So we're just going to review because we've read a lot in this book, and to be quite honest, I had to read it again because I was a bit confused. A lot going on in the first few chapters, first 7 chapters. So I know you guys wrote a summary yesterday, or were supposed to. So I'm just going to kind of give you a brief rundown of what mine looks like. I wrote quite a bit because I needed to get my thoughts all together. So far, we have 3 main characters, Winnie, Tuck, and May. Winnie lives in the house at the edge of the woods that contains a spring that gives someone who drinks of it immortal life. So far, we know that Tuck and May and their sons have drank from the spring and have been immortal now for 87 years. At the beginning, when we get into chapter 2, May's going into town to meet her sons who she's not seen for a decade. Tuck refuses to go. Tuck is the dad. Refuses to go and lets his wife May know just how exasperated or aggravated he is with their whole life, basically. And so we kind of get the hint that immortal life is not all it's cracked up to be, right? There's some issues with it. And at the end of that book, at the end of that chapter, we find out that May and her husband are indeed, and the 2 sons have been their same age for 87 years. So, May basically tells her husband, in the most loving way that she can, suck it up, buttercup. This is what we have to do, right? So, then we go into chapter 3, where we see Winnie having a conversation with Toad about her grandmother and mom always bossing her around, and she's aggravated about it, and she's contemplating or thinking about running away from home. As Winnie gets up to run away, and starts to think about running away the first time, she meets this really weird guy, the man in the yellow suit, who appears and starts to ask her questions. He asks her all about her family history, and the grandmother comes out, and about that time, the grandmother, May, and the man with the yellow suit hear a music box in the background and are kind of startled. They don't know. Some of them know what it is, some don't. They've heard it before. They're just very, very confused. So then we go into the next chapter, where Winnie, the little girl who lives in the house at the edge of the woods now, runs away. She finally decides to run away. And she runs into the woods and finds a giant tree. And beside the tree is an average-sized boy. Winnie crushes on the boy right away because he's so absolutely gorgeous. The little boy's name is Jesse. We find out that Jesse is 104. No, 17. No, 104. He's actually 104, but he is 17 when Winnie meets him, right? Winnie asks him for a drink from the spring, and he gives her a very hard no. So May shows up, right, with the brother, with Jesse's brother, and she has some bad news and fears that their greatest nightmare is coming true. So Winnie is then kidnapped by May and her 2 sons, thrown on the back of the horse, and rushed through the woods. As they're rushing through the woods, they pass the man with the yellow hat. They give him the excuse, hey, we're just training her how to ride a horse. And basically, they keep on going. And then they stop, and the family has to decide whether or not they're going to tell Winnie everything that's going on. And they tell her that she's going to be spending the night with them, and Winnie begins to panic and cry. And Jesse tries to calm her and tells her, hey, we're just your friends, right? So Winnie kind of settles in. Oddly enough, like you would think she'd be freaked out, but she doesn't really appear to be. And then she finds out that she's going to be staying with them. And that's kind of where we left off whenever we stopped reading last in chapter 7. So tonight we're going to read chapters 8 and 9. Hopefully it'll be easy to follow along now. Chapter 8. Winnie did not believe in fairy tales. She had never longed for a magic wand, did not expect to marry a prince, and was scornful most of the time of her grandmother's elves. So now she sat, mouth open, wide-eyed, not knowing what to make of this extraordinary story. It couldn't, not a bit of it, be true, and yet it feels so fine to tell somebody, Jessie exploded. Just think, Winnie Foster, you're the only person in the world, besides us, who knows about it. Hold on now, says Miles cautiously. Maybe not. There might be a whole lot of others, for all we know, wandering around just like us. Meaning immortal, right? Maybe, but we don't know them, Jessie pointed out. We've never had anyone but us to talk to about it. Winnie, isn't it peculiar? Kind of wonderful? Just think of all the things we've seen in the world, all the things we're going to see. So unlike the two parents right now, we see that Miles and Jessie are a little bit psyched about being immortal, right? They have so much more. Maybe it's because they're young? I don't know. To see. That kind of talk will make her want to rush back and drink a gallon of the stuff, warned Miles. There's a whole lot more to it than Jessie Tuck's good times, you know. Oh, stuff, said Jessie with a shrug. We might as well enjoy it as long as we can't change it. You don't have to be such a person all the time. I'm not being a person all the time, says Miles. I just think you ought to take it more serious. Now, boys, said May. She was kneeling by the stream, splashing her face and hands with cool water. Ooh, such weather, she explained, sitting back on her heels. She unfastened the brooch, took off her shawl, and toweled her dripping face. Well, child, she said to Winnie, standing up, now you share our secret. It's a big, dangerous secret. We've got to have your help to keep it. I expect you're full of questions, but we can't stay here no longer. She tied the shawl around her waist then and sighed. It pains me to think how your ma and pa will worry, but there's just no way around it. We got to take you home with us. That's the plan. Tuck, he'll want to talk it out. Make sure you see why you can't tell no one. But we'll bring you back tomorrow, all right? And all three of them looked at her hopefully. All right, said Winnie, for she decided it wasn't any choice. She would have to go. They would probably make her go anyway, no matter what she said. But she felt there was nothing to be afraid of, not really. For they seemed gentle and in a strange way childlike. They made her feel old, and the way they spoke to her, the way they looked at her, made her feel special, important. It was a warm, spreading feeling entirely new. She liked it, and in spite of their story, she liked them, too, especially Jessie. But it was Miles who took her hand and said, It's really fine to have you along, even if it's only for a day or two. Then Jessie gave a great whoop and leapt into the stream, splashing mightily. What you bring for breakfast, Ma? He cried. We can eat on the way, can't we? I'm starving. So with the sun riding high now in the sky, they started off again, noisily in the August stillness, eating bread and cheese. Jessie sang funny old songs in a loud voice and swung like a monkey from the branches of trees, showing off shamelessly for Winnie, calling to her, Hey, Winnie Foster, watch me, and look what I can do. And Winnie, laughing at him, lost the last of her alarm. They were friends, her friends. She was running away after all, and she was not alone. Closing the gate on her oldest fears, as she had closed the gate on her own fenced yard, she discovered wings she'd always wished she'd had. And all at once she was elated. Where were the terrors she'd been told she should expect? She could not recognize them anywhere. The sweet earth opened out its wide four corners to her like the petals of a flower, ready to be picked, and it shimmered with light and possibility till she was dizzy with it. Her mother's voice, the feel of home, receded for the moment and her thoughts turned forward. Why, she, too, might live forever in this remarkable world she was only just discovering. The story of the spring, it might be true. So that when she was not rolling along on the back of the fat old horse, by choice this time, she ran shouting down the road, her arms flung out, making more noise than anybody. So at this point, she seemed super happy to be with them, right? Really well adjusted already. It was good, so good, in fact, that through it all, not one of them noticed that the man they had passed on the road, the man in the yellow suit, had crept up to the bushes by the stream and heard it all. The whole fantastic story. That sneaky little thing. Nor did they notice that he was looking and following now, beside the road far behind, his mouth above the thin gray beard turned ever so slightly toward a smile. So, this sneaky little man with the yellow coat, we're going to have to find out more about him. I don't like that he's a creeper already. Chapter 9. The August sun rolled up, hung at mid-heaven for a blinding hour, and at last wheeled westward before the journey was done. But Winnie was exhausted long before that. Miles carried her some of the way. The tops of her cheeks were bright pink with sunburn, her nose a vivid comic red, but she had been rescued from a more serious broiling by May, who had finally insisted that she wear the blue straw hat. It came down far over her ears and gave her a clownish appearance, but the shade from its brim was so welcome that Winnie put vanity aside and dove gratefully into Miles' strong arms, her own arms wound around his neck. The pastures, fields, and scrubby groves they crossed were vigorous with bees, and crickets leapt before them as if each step released a spring and flung them up like pebbles. But everything else was motionless, dry as biscuit on the brink of burning, hoarding final reservoirs of sap, trying to hold out till the rain returned. And Queen Anne's lace lay dusty on the surface of the meadows, like foam on the painted sea. Lot of imagery in that paragraph, goodness. It was amazing, then, to climb a long hill, to see ahead another hill, and beyond that the deep green of a scattered pine forest, and as you climbed, to feel the air ease and soften. Winnie revived, sniffing, and was able to ride the horse again, perched behind May. And to her oft-repeated question, "Are we almost there?" the welcome answer came at last. Only a few more minutes now. So they journeyed a really long ways, almost the whole day. A wide stand of dark pines rose up, looming nearer, and suddenly Jessie was crying, "We're home! This is it, Winnie Foster!" And he and Miles raced on and disappeared among the trees. The horse followed, turning onto a rutted path lumpy with roots, and it is as if they slipped in under a giant colander. The late sun's brilliance could penetrate only in scattered glimmers, and everything was silent and untouched, the ground muffled with moss and sliding needles. The graceful arms of the pines stretched out protectively in every direction, and it was cool, blessedly cool and green. The horse picked his way carefully, and then ahead her path dropped down a steep embankment, and beyond that, Winnie, peering around May's bulk, saw a flash of color and a dazzling sparkle. Down the embankment they swayed, and there it was, a plain, homely little house, born red, and below it the last of sun flashing on the wrinkled surface of a tiny lake. "Oh, look!" cried Winnie. "Water!" And at the same time they heard two enormous splashes, two voices roaring with pleasure. "It don't take 'em more than a minute to pile into that pond," said May, beaming. "Well, you can't blame 'em in heat like this. You can go in too if you want." Then they were at the door in the little house, and Tuck was standing there. "Where's the child?" he demanded, for Winnie was hidden behind his wife. "The boys say you brung along a real, honest-to-goodness, natural child." "So I did," said May, sliding down off the horse, And here she is. Winnie's shyness returned at once when she saw a big man with a sad face and baggy trousers. But as he gazed at her, the warm, pleasing feeling spread through her again. For Tuck's head tilted to one side, his eyes went soft, and the gentlest smile in the world displaced the melancholy creases of his cheeks. He reached up to lift her from the horse's back, and he said, "There's just no words to tell you how happy I am to see you. It's the finest thing that's happened in—" He interrupted, setting Winnie on the ground, and turned to May. "Does she know?" "Of course she knows," says May. "That's why I brung her back. Winnie, here's my husband, Angus Tuck. Tuck, meet Winnie Foster." "How do, Winnie Foster," said Tuck, shaking Winnie's hand rather solemnly. "Well, then." He straightened and peered down at her, and Winnie, looking back into his face, saw an expression there that made her feel like an unexpected present, wrapped in pretty paper and tied with ribbons, in spite of May's blue hat, which still enveloped her head. "Well, then," Tuck repeated, seeing you know, "I'll go on and say, this is the finest thing that's happened in, at least 80 years. So, things seem to be working pretty well for Winnie, right? Oh man, I kind of want to read chapter 10. Oh well, we'll wait till Monday. So Winnie gets settled in, right? The book's getting a little easier to read and comprehend. They bring her back home, and you would think that Tuck would be like scoffing at the whole thing, like, "Oh, how dare you bring a child home?" But, and being she's a girl too, I was surprised to know that he wanted her there. Is actually excited for her to be there. And Winnie seems to be quite happy where she is. So, do we think that they're going to let her drink out of the water? Out of the spring? Is she gonna want to drink out of the spring? It's gonna be interesting to find out how this all plays out. Well, I have enjoyed our evening. Hopefully I've cleared up some questions for you. Hopefully you guys did a great job on your summary. Kind of wrapping everything up, right? I will see you guys again on Monday. You guys have a great weekend. Get some sun every day. Enjoy the weather. I know that I keep saying get the sun, get some sun, and you're like, "Oh, Miss Carolyn, you said that yesterday." It's so important, guys, for you to get out and play and run around and remember to exercise. You're exercising your brains. Remember to exercise your bodies too. No matter what you do, just have fun with it. Okay? I love you guys. I miss you guys so much. From the bottom of my heart, I miss you. And hope to see you guys really soon. Have a great weekend, you guys. Bye.